Brandon, we are already laughing before we even have a pour and before we even hit the record button. I think we're in for a very, very fun flight night. What do you think, man?
I'm excited about this one. I've had my eye on this brand and this juice for a while, and I'm excited to get to dive into it and see what we got.
And we were welcoming in, he's an American whiskey blender, founder of 2XO Whiskey. He's also done a few other things in his life, and we'll talk about that as well. Let's welcome in Dixon Dedman.
Hey man, thank you all for inviting your redneck neighbor down the road to join you on the show. So
Well, we
Happy to have you,
appreciate it.
as always. You're welcome.
And, and we might by the end be asking for a lot of fatherly advice from our favorite
well,
redneck down the road.
Oh, yeah.
you know, I mean, I'll give it. You decide how you want to take it, but I've certainly got my opinion on things going through
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, and Brandon and I will be giving our thoughts on some of these pours that you do, and I feel like we might as well just jump into the very first one. I've got the 2XO from the Oak series, the American Oak, this lovely bottle. What can you tell us about the 2XO, the American Oak?
You know, the American Oak was like this kind of brainchild project that I mean, to be completely honest with you, it came out of my previous experience with Kentucky Owl and wanting to really I wanted to create a kill it on Tuesday, replace it on Wednesday bottle. Never something that I could do with Kentucky Owl. One, because I didn't really have the time to lay down the stuff that allowed me to do that, and that's maybe a story for another day. But two, because that was also a period where just the price point of the liquid that we were acquiring just made it so challenging, and then putting it through the process that I put it through, and a lot of the double barreling and double oaking, and it just made it really challenging. And so it was always kind of a bucket list thing for me. And when we identified and created, and I kind of came up with the whole 2XO concept, and I said, I want to do this again. I want to do this the way I want to do it. And I want it to go, I really wanted to create an everyday drinker, an everyday, like, this is just a casual, easy pour. I don't have to think about it. I can just say, hey, that's good, and I want more of it. I just, there's 20 minutes left in this show, and I want to top my glass off, kind of thing. And so, I had to kind of work really hard actually to get that, because I pigeonholed myself a little bit. I had created this brand called 2XO, where we had to where the whole emphasis was on secondary new chart oak interaction during maturation. It was like building, using additional new chart oak to develop the flavor, to amplify some components, to add sweetness, to balance spice. And so um, it was a challenge to get it where I wanted it. It was also this really, really cool process to get there. But I absolutely love where American Oak is, and the trajectory that American Oak is on. I mean, it's and I think it's kind of finding that space we were looking for, especially as all of these things happen in this space, as all of these people are kind of changing the way they buy and what they buy, and looking for value, and I think creating something where I think there is value in American Oak. And if you do kill it on Tuesday, you can go replace it on Wednesday, as opposed to looking at your bottles and saying, well, I want to have that tonight, but when so that was, that was the intent of American Oak. And I think, for all intents and purposes, we've done very well with that. I mean, 2XO as a whole is the number one new to world spirit, or number one new to world bourbon, and in the top 10 new to world spirits. And I think that's largely driven by the value that people find in American Oak. It was, not to get super technical, but it was a really fun program because I had created concept around secondary new oak exposure. I think very basically, if you can get so much from one barrel, why are we not experimenting with more? And that was kind of where that all started in my Kentucky Owl days. And then, we come to a period where there's this like shortage of oak and shortage of access to barrels and all of these things. And was working with this company out of California, and they were proposing all these different opportunities for kind of stave insertion and whatever. And I actually have it's like science fair here, but what we ended up creating were these chains of, so this is a chain of new oak, and it's attached to a bung on one end, and when this goes in the barrel, it actually looks like a chain of charcoal briquettes. I mean, it looks like a chain, like you took a Kingsford bag and threaded it onto, a stainless steel string. But I worked with them, and what we identified, and what we settled on, the amount of surface area on this chain represents the exact same surface area as the interior of a new 53-gallon barrel. And so it's all charred, and it all goes into the barrel, and the barrel is 5.5 years old when it goes in there. And then this rests in there for about 10 months, and you get the same secondary new oak interaction, but this is significantly less than a new charred oak barrel a second time. And the idea and the intent and is nothing but to add more initial barrel sweetness to balance the spice of the rye. And so, I talk to people about tasting it. I hate tasting notes. I hate writing tasting notes. I hate talking about tasting notes. I'm a feel guy. And the goal with American Oak was to create a very approachable, easy, everyday drinker that still has complexity and movement on the palate. So you taste it and you're like, oh wow, I can taste the sweetness from the barrel in the front. There's some savory notes in the middle and some spice on the back. So there's, I always talk to people, 2 yellow lines down the middle of the highway, same 2 yellow lines down the middle of the palate. When you taste American Oak, I want you to be able to feel it on the front, feel it in the middle, feel it at the back. It's an easy, everyday, not complicated, just solid pour that you're happy to say, hey, I'm going to my buddy's house tonight. I'll go to, wherever and drop $45. I can take him this bottle and he's going to say, this is solid and we really enjoy it. That's probably a lot more than you wanted there, but that's kind of the way I roll.
No, we like it. We like hearing all the ins and outs, the complexities of it, and like I had no idea about the chain of blocks you had, the science project that you have, and that's really cool.
It was very, it was a lot of fun. Like when we started this,
Yeah.
The first thing they sent me was this it was like a cheesecloth sleeve with a bunch of little 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch cubes of oak in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it, and I was like, well, this is cool. I cut it open, and I was like, well, these aren't charred. And they're like, oh, okay, we can char them and then put them in the bag. So they char them and put them in the bag. they ship it out from California, and then I get a bag full of little black dust because they had all just like beat around in the pot. I was like, this is not going to work. So, going from there and working with their engineers and getting to the point of like, let's buy excess pieces of staves and cut them down and char them. How do we get them in the barrel? Do we just drop them all in there? No, because then let's put them on a So it was a really cool, fun process. I was like, let's try it 2 times. Like, so they sent me one that was like 20 something feet long, and we got about, I don't know, 14 feet of the thing into the barrel, and then the liquid started displacing. It was like, okay, well, that one won't work. So but it was, and then we different char levels. That part of developing American oak was, I think, just like this really cool opportunity to, I don't know, work a little bit outside the box and throw some stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
I like it. Yeah, like you said, it's very outside the box. It's very different. Something I'd never heard of, and especially in the, secondary agent part of it, but I think that's really cool. And I'm glad you explained it, because what I was going to ask you because you first mentioned, you said it was a really, really cool process getting here, with
Mm.
this, with the American oak, the oak series. So I'm glad you explained all that, because that's what I was going to ask you. I was like, what was cool about it? And that seems like
Yeah,
a
I
really
mean,
cool. That seems like a really cool process.
I think a big part of my kind of learning about all of this occurred during the. I did a lot of fun stuff in the Kentucky Owl days, and I think that's where I was able to experiment with a lot of different mash bills, how they reacted with um, secondary new oak interaction, what char levels played well with what rye contents, what char levels played well with what wheated content, and so, but that was a lot of the experimentation with new secondary 53-gallon charred oak barrels. And so, I was kind of excited when I started this project. It was like, okay, now we're going beyond that. It's more of a project around insertion of the oak into the barrel instead of removing the liquid and putting it in a new barrel. And I still do that. Everything, like the next two you're going to taste, and the rest of the 2XO program, the Icon series and Jim of Kentucky, is still traditional out of one barrel into, but because of the oak situation and different factors, and really focusing and dialing in on trying to create a line of 2XO that was still, existed in that sub $50 price point. We had to kind of think outside the box a little bit, and that's always fun. I always, that's like, okay, and I mean, these guys I was working with, they're just, I mean, they're engineers. Like, I'm just some crazy redneck whiskey guy from Kentucky. Like, what if we did this? And they're like, we could probably figure that out. And it was, it was awesome.
And no duct tape was used, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and of course there was duct tape. It was duct tape, Gorilla Glue. Who knows?
I love it. Well, and with the American oak, like you said, it's approachable. It's 92 proof, so it's not, gonna overly, come in hot. My initial sip was a little warm, but as I had a few more, it definitely kind of mellowed out on that. And just like you said, it's an easy drinker, and it's very approachable. And it's a very solid pour. As Brandon likes to always say, he loves a good number one fastball right down the middle, and I feel like this is in that realm.
The idea too is to. I mean, I don't want to make a little light. Like, I mean, I'm gonna make a bourbon. You're drinking bourbon. That if you want soft and tame and cute, I'm not your guy.
Yeah. I like it.
we also, the American oak has a kind of a sister label that is done with French oak in the same style, but it's charred French oak staves that go in the barrel, and so American oak tends to, it attracts the people that are looking for a little more spice on the back end, a little more weight on the back end, a little more. But I think I will say this: you take that 92 proof American oak next to most other 90-ish proof bourbons with a rye content, and I I bet you can't find one with more kind of weight and viscosity. Not alcohol, not booze, but weight and viscosity, mouthfeel because of that additional oak. And then we created the French oak. And when I did the French oak was, was stylistically to go after the people who like the more weeded profile, front of the palate, softer, less spice, less finish, really kind of heavy, rich front of the palate. So they're kind of a yin and yang that we have in the 2XO world with American oak and French. And I do tastings all the time, and I think it is a great compliment that we can taste American and French with 50 people in the room and say which is your favorite, and 25 will raise their hand for American oak and 25 will raise their hand for French because they're stylistically very different. But I think I do think they, I think they punch well above their weight in terms of kind of mouthfeel and viscosity, which are two things that I probably put more focus on than just about anything else.
No, it's a tasty one, and I see what you meant too, because it does give a little more spice to the back end, and I think Brandon's got a question on that.
What I don't know if you mentioned it or not, and I'm sorry if you did, if I missed it, but what you talked about, it punches above its weight and all that stuff, and whatever the spice on it, because it's right. You're spot on with that, because I was going to say that, and what I was tasting, I get sweetness on the very front, like I get
Mm-hmm.
sweetness, and then I get the very spice, that punch of of the oak, if you will. Now, if you, for all you guys listening out there, if you are a big fan of oak, double oak, whatever it may be, this is your jam, because you do get that oakness that comes through there. You get that spice. That spice kind of lingers right in the middle of the tongue for me. It's kind of like I'm just, just took a big handful of crushed red pepper or something. But I get that sweetness on the front, but it also that smooth, mellow finish in the back. That kind of brings it all together. But I did. What is the mash bill on this one?
It is, and I have a Kentucky public school education, so if my math doesn't math here, but
Hey,
it's
that's fine.
18% rye, 8% malted barley,
Yeah,
and 74% corn on the American oak, and that should add up close to 100.
yeah.
But
Who's counting? I mean, yeah, who's counting?
I don't
It's
have enough
close enough.
finger and toes to check
C's.
myself, but
So listen, C's get degrees. That's fine.
yeah,
We were public.
it's an 18% rye bourbon mash bill, 8% malted barley on there. So
Nice, nice. But no, I really do like it. Like I like, and I like to refer to it like you talk about the mouthfeel. Like I refer to it all the time as that juicy is what I call it. But it just kind of leaves you that just extra mouthfeel where it's like, hmm. Because a
well,
lot
I
of
think
bourbons you try kind of like dry you out, or you're just like, man, I don't know, whatever. But this one, it kind of leaves it like, okay, there's something there to that. It's got
yeah.
some, you could tell it's good complexity of flavors.
Well,
But no, I like it.
and I that's always. I mean, I don't really have any interest in making a vodka like bourbon. Like
No, no,
if I'm gonna drink bourbon, I want to know,
no.
and I want to. When I It's always funny. I talk to people about this a lot. Is like the people that do all these tastings and the tasting panels, and they then they'll spit, and then you don't have the aftertaste, right? You don't have you don't have the residual, and that residual sometimes can be awful, right? Like it can
Yep.
be off-putting, and um, so I think you would be hard pressed to find a 90 something proof bourbon that has the lingering components that are solid. Like you can still feel the tingle from the tip of your
Mm-hmm.
tongue to the back of your, and that's because of that secondary oak exposure. We built that like that heavy weight into the whiskey through the program, so that you can say, this, there's substance is
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the palate anyway.
Well, like you said, it does punch above its weight because it is 92 proof. But now a lot of people might equate this to something bad, but I think it drinks closer to upwards of 95, 98 proof, like as far as the drink on it. But that may be bad for some people because they think, oh, higher proof, and it means, whatever. But for me, I equate that with more flavor a lot of times.
I don't,
Um,
I take that as a compliment, not,
you know,
that I'm good with that.
yeah, yeah. And that's you nailed, but as your description, you nailed what you're going for by my
Yeah.
mind.
If
So,
you said, oh, this is like 80 proof
oh
water, I'd be like,
no,
okay, I quit. I'm out.
80. I don't know if I don't entertain a
Yeah.
80 proof.
No, we've been in the 80s for a few, but not a lot. And you've mentioned this. You Kentucky Owl. You revived that back. You mentioned Kentucky Owl. You revived that back in 2014. It's a legacy brand from your family. In a sense, your great grandfather founded it way back in 1879. You brought it back in 2014. You sold it off in 2017, but still were with the brand until 2021. What was it like to do that, and then go to the 2XO and kind of launch that journey? Because you talked a little bit about it all. You were able to do a lot more things with 2XO. But what was it like to, one, bring back an old brand, and then two, start a brand new brand?
Well, as part of it is that, like, I think if you ask my mom, she would tell you that most of the time when I was a kid and someone would say, or she would say, Dixon, you shouldn't do that. That's a bad idea. Don't do that. My general reaction was, oh yeah, watch this kind of thing. And that was basically Kentucky Owl. Um, I had this love and passion for bourbon, but I was also raised in a business, very tradition oriented business that had been in my family for many years as well. And I really, there's something really cool about carrying on a legacy and building on a tradition. Um, that was something I had great pride in, and coming back to my family business called the Beaumont Inn in Harrodsburg. Um, so being able to kind of resurrect Kentucky Owl was, for a lot of things and for a lot of reasons, like not just a me thing. It was kind of like my family had always wanted to do this and couldn't figure it out, and I just dumb or crazy enough to say, hey, I'm gonna figure this out, but I also thought it would be a really fun thing to do. And it was amazing. I wouldn't change a thing about it. I learned so much. I had such a great time. I met so many amazing people. It was a great learning experience and an exciting experience. And um, I feel like that there just came a point where I was ready to take those experiences and maybe go and try something else, try some, try to, and I do think that, when we reached a point we were at a crossroads in terms of our kind of direction and vision and goal, and that happens all the time, and that's not a bad thing. I don't fault anybody for that. I'm not. There's no. I don't lay blame anywhere, but I reached a point. I said, you know what, I think I can take the things that I've learned and the things I've been through, and I can. I'm ready to go create something that's not all about the past, but kind of like maybe push this industry forward, or push forward into a new space. And so I don't know, man. I think I think one day I'll look back at my life and think about like these periods in my life, what I was doing, and how I was progressing as like a person, a business person, whatever. And I always kind of get to a point and I have that itch and I say, I need to, I don't know, I need to break something again, like
Well, I was gonna say, I think you're getting to do that on a daily basis with 2XO, because our which is two times oak for those that didn't catch the 2XO part of it. Because you also, in addition to the oak series where you have the American and the French, you have the Icon series, and we're trying tonight the vinyl blend, which is an ode to music, which is very fitting for a lot of the things that we do on our shows. Um, what made you do this? The Icon series, and I believe for this one, is it a blend of high rye bourbon and quote unquote moderate rye bourbon, that 18%
Yeah.
ish?
So the thing that attracted me to the opportunity to partner with the Prestige Beverage Group was the access to older stocks and long term contracts for some higher rye mash bills, and they had been laying down a high rye mash bill, a 35% rye mash bill that knocked my socks off. When they contacted me, it was as a consultant to help them figure out whether they should keep that liquid or sell that liquid or do something with it. I created the 2XO concept. I was trying to find the right liquid to source to put through the double oak program, and uh, but they hired me to tell them whether or not the stuff was worth keeping or selling. And I tasted it, and I said, we need to have a different conversation. And that conversation turned into this partnership. Um, and so, it's like I was looking for this beautiful marriage of high rise, super spicy, super fruity distillate that I could put through a portion of it through this double oaking program, and go back to kind of my roots of creating these like unique one-off blends. I think we kind of, I'm not going to say that I created that model, but no one was doing that model before me. I mean, there were one-off blends, and I mean, Jim Rutledge at Four Roses was, and with the Marriott, it turned into limited edition. But outside of that, most of the you know limited time offering things were, they were blends, but they were all of the same distillate, same barrel, same whatever. And so, that was kind of when we hit with Kentucky Owl. It was kind of this crazy thing where people were like, "Oh my gosh, batch two is so different than batch one, and batch four is so," and so people kind of followed that blending journey, and that's what I wanted to create again with 2XO in this Icon series. Now, when we started talking about it, I just didn't want to go back to the same old 2016 release, 2021 release, 2022 release, or batch one, batch two, batch three. And so we had this like very candid conversation about like, how do we make this personal? Like, how do we make this, something that people can actually like attach to, that's cool. And well, it's these are all things from my life. These are all personal things to me, and they have a story, and
So,
and
so
the
you like
first one was
music, sneakers.
yeah. I mean, the Phoenix blend. The Phoenix blend is the only one I had a real problem with because they're like, it's great, Dixon. It's gonna be called the Phoenix blend. We've come up with this. Everybody loves it. It's you're rising from the ashes, and I was like, that is a really lame story to tell about myself when I go sell this stuff. Like, but everything else in there, from the innkeepers and tribute and Kiowa, and then we get into my shoe problem, and then vinyl. And my parents were were good hippies. We grow up, and my dad had we closed the inn for 3 months every year, and so my dad was home for 3 months, and every night it was like, whose turn is it to pick the music? And we didn't play tapes. We didn't have CDs. It was all their old, like, Carly Simon, James Taylor, Smokey Robinson, Allman Brothers vinyls. And it was just all vinyl. And
That's awesome.
I started that with my kids, and they love it. Like,
Yeah.
we have a vinyl thing. So they're all just very personal things kind of from my life that and then it's been an interesting it took a couple releases for people to realize that, like, it's not the same whiskey and a different label. Like, these are stylistically incredibly different profiles across each of these, and they've all been very, very, very well received, but it's they're all very different. The vinyl blend that you have in front of you is um, a really it's a special one for me because it's really the first time, um, outside of some of the early stuff that I did with Mark and Sherry. Mark and Sherry, my partners in Kentucky, how they would come in, and I would kind of have the blend established, and they would, we'd weigh in, we try different things, but for all intents and purposes, my entire career, in this industry, which is not much, but I don't, I'm operating solo. I don't have a group of 18 people in white lab coats with clipboards that I say, hey, give me, So, um, I is the vinyl is the first time that I I brought this guy, great young man, on the team, and Seth participated in this blend, and it's the first time I've like I really ever from start to finish, had somebody involved in the blending process. And it's really funny when you do this blending thing, because it's like it's like a therapeutic session or multiple sessions. Like, it's people often are like, I'd love to come blend with you, and it's like you sit down at 8 a.m. and you just drink different blends of whiskey till 5. Like, it doesn't. I mean, it sounds cool, but
Yeah.
um, I usually get in a lot of trouble when I get home when that But
Yeah.
so you said, like,
Been there, done that.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So but it was and having another perspective in the room, and having another somebody who he tastes different than I do. And it's the first time I've ever, like, kind of had to go through that. Like, I'm trying to articulate, like, the flaws or what I like, and he's kind of doing it his own way, and it's kind of but it was awesome because he's such a great guy. He's such a huge part of our team now. And we put that vinyl together, and I remember, the vinyl. There's four components to the vinyl. There's the 18%, there's the 35% that's from the original barrel, 35% that's been double barreled after about 6.5 years in a char 3, and 35% that's been double barreled in char 4, and all these different lots involved, and we're dealing with 150 different barrel samples and all these different things, and you you create this thing in a lab, right? You create this thing from sample bottles on a table, and you say, this is it. this is this is the jam. Like we found it. It's magic. And then you go further, and then you keep screwing up, and you're like, you keep coming back to this one. You're like, this is it. Then you send that off, and like the most terrifying part of all of this is the period between when you send it off and when they go dump those barrels, and you actually taste the product that's been dumped from those barrels. Because dump 90 barrels, like the toothpaste doesn't go back in the tube. You know what I mean? Like it's happening. But you know what you create in a lab, you just hope and pray and so it was really fun for the vinyl to go through this with Seth and do this for for the first time with I guess with someone else. But I love the vinyl. I think all the icons in that series are 104 proof. I think that's kind of it's become my wheelhouse for proof. I used to be a higher proof guy. I'm more of maybe it's my age or whatever, but I just, there's great symmetry to that blend. Again, I'm not a big tasting note guy, although Seth continues to talk about this weird tropical fruit note that he gets in the middle of it, which I get once he points it out. But I love the balance of the sweet and transition to spice, the weight, viscosity, the mouthfeel, the kind of oiliness to it. It's just, I just, I think these are my wheelhouse for drinkers, and I don't, and I've said this the whole time I've been doing this. I'm not if I like it, then we're gonna put it in a bottle, and if I don't like it, we're not, and I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna say, oh, I want to go make something because this is what got good reviews, or this is, do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
Well,
it's a very personal process, I guess.
well, and you're right in our wheelhouse with the high rye bourbon, and it sounds like it's more on the high rye with the extra, the 2XO version of it all. So I get that spice too, which Brandon and I love. We love a good high rye bourbon, and you're right. It drinks totally different than the American oak, which is which is obviously the moderate rye, the 18%. On the bourbon, and this one, like you said, it's got the 35 on multiple occasions with the different barrels, and I think that comes through because this one has even, if the other one packed a little bit of a punch, I feel like this one kind of hits you because there's a good bit of spice in it, and I and a sweetness too, because from Brandon and I, we even on the high rise or even just a regular rye whiskey, which I know you've released one of those, and we'll talk about that a little later. We get a lot of sweetness with it too, and that's what I love, the balance between the two.
Well, so two things, and then just like cut me off or tell me to stop talking when you want me to stop talking. But I just, to me, building a great whiskey is about building complexity, and I think a lot of times we confuse complexity. We confuse, you know I get these different sweet notes, or I get these different savory notes, or I get these different spicy notes. To me, complexity is, are you getting a sweet note that moves into a savory note that becomes a spice note? Is there movement on the palate? I try not to build one-dimensional whiskeys, but multi-dimensional whiskeys that move across the palate. And so, if there isn't a transition, and if it's not a comfortable transition, and if it's not a recognizable transition, it doesn't register to me. And I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's how my brain works. I want to notice movement. We all recognize sweet in the front of our palate. We all recognize savory in the middle. We all recognize spice on the back. We all recognize sour and acid and bitter on the sides. And so I generally try to avoid anything on the sides of the palate, but I want some sort of transition on the, through the middle of the palate. And sometimes that is a spice on the back that moves back forward to a sweet. And sometimes that's a heavy sweet that has a nice little soft spice on the back end. But it's that movement that we're looking for. The other thing, especially with the icons and moving into the gym as well, that makes this product really unique is that it's a really old school methodology in terms of production. So it's low exit proof off the still. It's a low entry proof into the barrel, and then we're storing these barrels in a specific location where the majority of our evaporate, the majority of what we're losing, the majority of our angel share is ethyl alcohol. So that vinyl blend, for example, when it was dumped, when those barrels were dumped, I think it was like 106, 108 barrels. When they put all those together, dumped straight from the barrel, there was 109.6 proof. So it's bottled at 104. Which is why you can still taste all of that. You get all the mouthfeel, you get all the viscosity, you get all the weight to it. Because, had we aged those in such a way, get that proof in the 130s, dump that at 104. It's light, it's mild, there's not a lot of complexity, there's not a lot of movement. Because 15% of it's water. And that was what really attracted me to the opportunity, to work with this particular liquid, is the way that it was distilled. It allowed me to bottle this with not a lot of dilution in the final product, so that it carries a lot of that kind of character and complexity that's in the liquid. It's not diluted out, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it right, spot on with the complexity of flavors. Like it just that transition to the sweet, savory, spicy, whatever it is. And John hit it nailed on the head too. Like we're big time, um, you know, rye connoisseurs, if you will, just because the rye
No,
is.
no one's ever called me that.
I mean,
Just
yeah,
don't make me spell it.
yeah. No, I'm
I
not.
know. Hmm.
We're not going to be on TV winning the spelling bee for sure. Um, but I agree. It's very it like, and again, I think you nailed it by punching above its weight when it comes to the proof on the vinyl. It's at 104, but you're going to be jamming out at, in my opinion, it drinks like 108, 110. But again, you get that complexity of flavor, the smoothness, the sweetness from the rye. Um, I, I think you nailed it on that one as well. So kudos to you.
No, appreciate it.
Let's move. I'm excited to try this one just because I read the description of it and I'm just like, this guy is either a genius or he's crazy. So,
Or both.
or
Been
both,
called both.
but I
That's
like it.
funny.
But I like it. So the next one we got is the Gem of Kentucky. And as you can see, the nice little gem there. Really cool bottle, by the way. Single barrel. Is that correct?
Correct.
Um, 108 proof. So,
A single
and
barrel, that's weird, right, Brandon? Is that what we read?
yeah, and that's what I was wanting to say. Now, just by talking to you already, just what little time we've had together, and you like to color outside the lines, and I like that. So what? This is a single barrel that was double barreled, right? You wanted to create a double barreled single barrel, and so walk us through that. And
See, it's
uh,
funny. Like, you're a whiskey guy. I thought, like, when I explain this to like our sales and marketing team, like they're
yeah,
just like too
yeah,
much.
yeah,
Like I just don't. I don't know. I don't get it.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So what? Well, I mean,
No, I mean,
that's just which I like you said, we're whiskey guys, bourbon guys. We understand, but that's just something you don't see, a lot of, and I appreciate that. As John can tell you, like I'm the one in the friend group that everybody else is going right and I'm going left just to be different.
Hmm.
So, but just walk us through
I think
that
that,
brain that
I
that
love that.
brainchild.
Like, that's why I like you, Brandon. Like, I've always been the same thing. Like, look, I'll color inside your lines. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, I'll color inside your lines, but I'm just going to use a different color crayon. That's the way
I,
I'm wired. You know what I mean? Like, okay.
same.
And,
Same.
and, and I do think that a lot of things that I've done and continue to try to do, and I don't mean this in a bad way. Like, I am not, but I want to find soft spots in this industry that I think are opportunities, and one of the places that I have a little bit of an issue is what's happened with um, the term single barrel.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And, single barrel originally was supposed to indicate that this was an individual barrel
One
that
barrel.
had a quality that
Yeah.
separated itself from the other barrels that, were, and you're going through this and doing a lot of, I think sometimes I would say now maybe, half the time, a little more than half the time, uh, the private selection program can provide you with a single barrel opportunity that is somewhat unique. As someone who has participated in a lot of single barrel selections and things like that. I think, it's always funny. You go and you taste the barrels at barrel strength. You say, this one's interesting. This one I don't like so much. But then they say, well, we got to cut them all down to 90 proof. And then you taste them all at 90 proof. And they're like, well, okay, these six barrels are exactly the damn same. I don't know what we're doing here. Um,
Yep.
so, with this, like, I really, if I was going to do a single barrel, I wanted it to be a real single barrel program. So much so that you know, I actually probably caused myself more headache than I intended. But what we do, every year, um, I've got about 500 or so, 500 ish barrels of that 35% rye mash bill that turned 6 years old. And
Speaking my
what
language.
what complicates that a little bit is that these barrels are not distilled for us at one time. It's 50 barrels a month, 10 months out of the year. So there's variation across these barrels, right? Like, it's 10 different lots of 50. But I generally select around 300 of them each year, and I dump them from the barrels that they've been aging in, and I put them in new charred oak barrels a second time, as just to make my life even simpler. On the second round, I use currently both char 3 and char 4 barrels for the second barrel. So I've got barrels across 10 different lots, and I split that up across char 3 and char 4 in the second barrels. And then I age those anywhere from 8 to, 16, 18 months in that second new oak barrel. And when we go to create the blends like the vinyl blend, there are times I come across a set of barrels and I'm like, okay, these are complete. These scratch an itch for me. And sometimes they're super rich, and sometimes they're heavy and thick and viscous and sweet. and sometimes they're really fruity with a lot of great spice on the back end. And I'm an equal opportunist, and but those I when I find those, like, I'll say, okay, these are out. These aren't going into a blend. These are going to be in the Gem of Kentucky program, and so we pull those out and we bottle those. And so it's a double barreled single barrel. So it's been in one barrel, went into another barrel, and then it's bottled. And I think what's fun about it is that it's like it's a little bit of an Easter egg hunt, because you all you know on the front of that bottle is that number. And it may be, I don't know what you had, 65 or maybe 122 or maybe 134. You don't really know um, anything other than that. I mean, it could. You don't know if it's a char 3. You don't know if it's a char 4. You don't know if it's um, that also became a bit of a problem when everybody's like, hey, what was this, or what was that one, or whatever. But I genuinely wanted to create like a true single barrel again, that if you like that brand, if you trust that brand or whatever, you can say, hey, the redneck whose signature is on this bottle, he selected this for a reason, and this is and they're cool. I mean, they're different. They're all over the place. We we just opened up a barrel program with this, and the selections of these things has blown my mind, just the way that's kind of in the barrels that people pick. They're always like, well, this one's the kind of easiest drinker, but this one's the most off the wall. Like, that's what we want. I'm like, I freaking love that. Like, that's why we designed this program, because it's been a lot of fun. I'll tell you this, dude. One of the things when I was kind of creating and ideating on the whole 2XO concept, like, I wanted to do this all black bottle. Like, I was like, I want to do. I mean, I have somewhere. I've got like a like a hand drawn sketch with a Sharpie marker that I like scanned and faxed or emailed to my team. I was like, this is what I want this to look like. And they're like,
Wait,
it's
how old are you faxing things? Come on now.
right. But that they didn't show my age there. Yeah. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be, and they're like, you can't do an all black bottle. I was like, why? Like, people can't see the liquid. And I was like, that sounds
It's a
stupid.
sharp looking bottle. You
It
did
is.
right.
Well, so then
It is.
they're like, well, I was like, why not? They're like, no one does that in whiskey. And I was like, well, are you familiar with like agave spirits, like tequila? Like, Clase Azul is doing pretty well with the bottle, and you can't see the liquid in that bottle. There are plenty of. I was like, I think I want to do this. And they're like, I don't think we should. I was like, oh, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's and so it's funny, but the whole 2XO concept, like, let's be around, let's focus on the product, what the story of the liquid in the bottle is, and let's create something that is unique and interesting and looks almost out of place in the space, but is modern. I'm tired of everything having to be about what happened 120 years ago. Let's talk about what's actually in the glass. Let's make bourbons and whiskeys and things that excite, energize, kind of make people say, "Oh wow, didn't see this coming." And that's really kind of the Gem of Kentucky, thought process. Like, no, I'm gonna buck the trend of a single barrel that has to taste like every other single barrel. We're going to make a single barrel that is truly a single barrel.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think
I
you
love it.
confused Brandon because
I love
I
it.
saw his reaction on his initial taste, and I think
Yeah,
and it was
I was
and
hoping.
to
I
my
was wondering if
knowledge
you
it was a
saw
good
that.
reaction. It was a
I
good
was wondering if you
reaction.
saw that.
I did
I
because you
tried to
went
hide.
hmm?
I tried to hide my face, but no, man. Like you talk about bringing something different, doing something different, but I think kind of the theme of the show is you want something that's going to be, you're drinking bourbon. We're not drinking Kool-Aid. We're, we want that complexity of flavors. We want that punch, but also we want that to be, you know, just that whirlwind of from front to back, right? And yeah, this one is this single barrel. Yeah, that one has got it. Like if you're somebody that wants a roller coaster, buy that all day. Um, because I got everything from Thanksgiving to Christmas to summertime to whatever, and
His head
it
turned this way. He was
yeah,
like,
I
"What
was
the
like,
hell?"
what is happening right now? Because I was like, I'm getting Christmas trees and bacon spices, and then I'm getting summertime love, and I'm like, what is going on here? But that's what you get in a true single barrel. And we can talk offline and talk about stories when it comes to single barrel experiences, but that's what you get, and that's what I want in a single barrel.
And I think part of that, Brandon, is that it goes back to what I was saying about kind of the distillation process. I mean,
Yep.
I've never dumped a barrel of Gemma Kentucky that came in higher than 112.
Mm,
And there have been several that were in that 107 range we couldn't use.
yep.
Um, they're not barrel proof because we can't. If you do 85 barrel proof single barrels, and they all have their own individual proofs, then they all have to be 85 different item numbers. And then these are all things I learned. Like I didn't know this, but
So
then
you
it
do make
makes
it all the same proof. I see how it is. No, I'm just
yeah. I mean,
kidding.
you bottle it
That
all
way, I
the
only
same
have to put
proof.
one
Well,
TTB label in.
Yes.
and I
Exactly.
don't, like the other day, someone was
Taxation.
like, "What does TTB stand for?" I was like, "I have no idea." Like I don't know that. Like I just like making the stuff. But um, I think part of that roller coaster is the fact that there's very little dilution on the front end, very little dilution on the back end, and like that's what I don't like. What's in the middle of the road, like roadkill. Like I
Hmm.
I, I want to make there's an experience that needs to come with this, and so the Jimmy Kentuckys I think are just that. They're big, they're heavy, they're weighty. There's a lot of movement. They're not overly boozy. It's not like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, I just swallowed fire, but
No,
there's a
No.
lot
No.
of things
fantastic,
going on.
Yeah.
fantastic, and to Brandon's point too. Like on something like this, I love your, in a sense, your stair step pricing model because we really kind of did that with each of these pours tonight because the American oak was one like you said. Hey, I want to be able to go if I finish that bottle tonight. I want to be able to go to the store tomorrow, and that's under right about $50 MSRP. Vinyl, all right, I finished it. Maybe I can get another icon. That's about 100, and then the Gem of Kentucky is about 200. Why did you kind of have, obviously, like in a sense, like a little stair step? Because hey, you hooked me in on the American Oak. I tried this one, and now I want to keep going. Like, I'm willing to go up a little bit. Maybe it's because
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
had
I
each
think
of the
that's
bottles, and I'm
yeah,
still
that's
feeling them. But
I won't say that like that was like we I was quoted in the New York Times about a year ago saying that, or maybe it was more like 18 months ago, that 75 is the new 35 because that is before everything, so like like I'm not gonna sit here and act like I was Nostradamus and we just had like all this thing figured out or whatever. I think that for the first time, I shouldn't say that for the first time, but with 2XO, we were able to sit down as a group, as a company, as people, and say, hey, from the consumer perspective, like where does where are you buying things? Like where do things work for you? Where do things live for you? Where and I'm trying so hard not to throw shade here, but in my previous life and previous experience, it was like I would sit in meetings and it was kind of like I'm arguing with someone who was saying, well, if they'll buy it at this price point, then surely they'll buy it at that price point. And I hate that just hurt me. Like that just didn't ever sit right with me because um you know I, my grandfather told me, we were in the restaurant business, like having somebody come visit us in the restaurant the first time, the second time, the third time is great. It's great. But what you're really after is their business the 14th time and the 15th time and the 16th time. Like that's what you want, and so looking at this and how we can create value in a place where people say, I'm getting something that I really enjoy, I'm comfortable with, and um, that I can get behind, that I can believe in, that I can say, hey, these guys, this whatever it's American oak, French oak, whatever, like this is something that um, that they could say there's great value here in this bottle with the Icon series. Hey, I know it's a little more expensive, and I don't just drink this on a Tuesday. Like this is something that there's a story behind it. I understand it. I have an attachment to this. I want to share this in the right occasions. Jim in Kentucky, this is really special. This is something that I found. This is a bottle that I went out. I was able to taste somewhere, and I said, "Hey, whatever it is, 65. This is really cool." And when I had this, I was with these people here, here, and here, and so now I want to get another one of those so that I can have that. So but they're not. I mean, I don't go buy $200 bottles of bourbon regularly. We don't. I think that we've kind of in this industry lost sight of that a little bit over the last little bit because of the last few years and whatever. And so I'm proud of where we are with our pricing structure and what we're doing. And I think I'm very confident. Actually, I'm 100% confident that we're not gonna see what I saw previously. Where it's like, well, if they're buying it at 200, maybe we could raise the price. That's just one, that's not gonna happen. But two, like I'm a bourbon consumer at heart. Like I'm a bourbon guy at heart. And I'm a it's all about the experience. It's all about what it is, and so the idea with 2XO is that how do we create kind of a tiered program that offers something for everybody, depending on what they want, but with the sole purpose of creating value in each of those kind of steps along, along the way.
I think he did it.
Yeah. I've been, like I said, been highly impressed. Been wanting to, obviously as a consumer, I walk into the liquor store, walk into uh, bourbon shops, and I see the brand, I see the bottle. The one that caught my eye because I'm like, you talked about it. I'm a sneakerhead myself, but I saw the bottle and I saw the shoe and I said sneakerhead. And I was like, ain't no way that somebody made a bottle of bourbon that's going to taste like a pair of Jordans. And so I was like intrigued. And then, then the more I got into it and then, try a little bit of it. And then, of course, obviously, we had the distinct pleasure of having you on tonight. And, but I've been highly impressed, like you said. Like, I've loved the, just kind of the elevation of flavors. We started
Mm-hmm.
at the bottom with, just a normal, straightforward fastball right down the middle with 92 proof. Then we stepped it up. But we stepped it up in flavor, complexity, different, you know, aging processes, distillate processes, whatever it may be. But uh, big fan. But I do have, I'm excited to see what can you tell us, tell the audience, tell the folks, tell the listeners, anything exciting that you got coming up in that mind that likes to color outside the box, want to be different, like because I know I'm excited, and maybe you can't tell us on the air, but I'm excited to maybe you can tell me off there.
No, I
But
think the thing I'm most excited about is in that oak series. So in that
yep.
$50, $40 to
Mm,
$50 price point, um, in 8 markets across the country right now, and then we'll expand that to about 25 markets in the spring. We're launching my first rye whiskey under the 2XO label, and
mm,
it's the same concept. So it's a 95.5 Kentucky straight rye whiskey that's been treated with those same new charred oak chains. It's a whiskey drinker's rye. I love good rye. I hate what I think is bad rye. I know other people like rye is a finicky thing. I don't like my rye to taste like pickle juice, and I don't like my rye to taste like an herb garden, and I don't like my rye to taste like a clean bathroom. So we've got this great rye that has this initial sweetness that moves to more of a minty, slightly piney finish on it. It's again in that 92 proof range. I I'm just really really strong on the way this rye is gonna land, and so it's out in Kentucky and I think 7 other markets right now, and then we'll launch it further. But that's been my big kind of project leading up to this little fall season is launching that rye. So
I love it. I was gonna say you beat me to my question. You answered that Brandon's question with what I was gonna say because that's called the white
oh
oak
okay.
rye.
yep.
And no, it's good. It's good. It's good. You did our job for us.
I'm excited.
It's like you know what you're doing. Um, the white oak rye available in Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Minnesota, North Carolina, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and expanding to more states. But also on the oak series, are you ever going to expand that one to other things? Because there's other barrels that might I don't know. I don't know. You could go down a rabbit hole there.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing with things for a long time. And I think it's kind of funny. It's like um, I'm not gonna do a gimmicky thing. Like I'm just not. Like if I'm gonna do something, it's going to be, especially in that series, like it's going to live and exist and continue. Um, and I think there's a lot of uh, a lot of things happening in this space in whiskey and bourbon and consumer preference and whatever and so I'm not sure that right now is the time to be trying to go out and find some artisanal Hawaiian oak that we can do something. I just don't like. I don't. That's not what I want to do. Not what I want to create. I mean, I think that for us and for me right now, where we are, um, to have the American oak, which scratches kind of the traditional bourbon back of the palate spice component, the French oak, which really scratches a little bit more of the weeded bourbon consumer. I like the sweeter, forward softness. Having a rye in that line, building out this icon series, the Gem of Kentucky. I, like I don't know that I'm. It's a weird time right now to be like pressing and saying, "Hey, we got to go find the next big thing or be the next, leader on the next big thing." Um, I'm very I feel like once we get these three Oak Series things established, another Icon Series coming, another round of Jim and Kentucky, like there's a point where you have to kind of silo, and I don't, I don't want to get into that mindset of vodka where like we're chasing the next flavor, we're chasing the next. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you don't want to go from vanilla vodka to blueberry vanilla vodka to
Right.
triple distilled blue. Yeah, no, I
Yep.
get it because Brandon and I have talked about this, and I'm sure as someone that's been in the industry a lot, I liken bourbon to if anyone watched the craft beer industry. It's not hard to see. We went way crazy, and now we're pulling it back. And I feel like a lot of us graduated from craft beer to bourbon. We did that ride too, and now we're going back to give me something
Yeah.
that's damn good at a good price. And I feel
Yeah.
like you're starting
Correct.
to do that with that $50 entry
No, I
level.
mean that's so you're what you just said right there. Like that is exactly where we are. Is you know I like I hope that with the Oak Series we have created something damn good at a damn good price. I hope with the icons we've created something that people can say, "Hey, that's cool. There's a new one. I got to get that one because I had the other ones and I need to have that one. And this one's interesting or whatever." And then the Jim of Kentucky, they're like, "Oh, this is kind of this is kind of a new thing that I haven't seen before, and this is fun." And then nine times out of ten when somebody says, "Hey, I've had that Jim of Kentucky." It's like, well, what barrel did you have? They're like, look, they go through the phone. Like, oh, I had 32. All right. Well, here's 76. And they're like, well, this is different. I need one of those too. And so
Yep.
that's kind of fun. But
That's awesome.
I don't know. I don't know that this, and that maybe this topic for another conversation. The status of the industry and where things are going, and y'all probably don't want to go down that road. But it's very interesting time. I think right now in this business, like
It's
be
different.
good at, yeah, be good at you.
Yeah.
Like you got to be good at you.
Yep. Yeah. You got to do what, like you said, you just got to do what you do best and stick to it. And you know, just just coming from the Bourbon Festival and hearing all the chatter and stuff like that. Like, it's just one of those times where I don't know. It's different. It's volatile. It, it's stock market, man. know,
100%.
route it
Yeah,
out.
I mean, again, I just think we just got you just got to at a certain point you just got to say just do you,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
Well, now I like you're putting out here with the 2XO because as Brandon said, the flavors build on each other, and that's really cool to see as
yep.
elevated it up. Some proof points, but not crazy. I love the fact that you didn't have to water anything down really, because like you
Yep.
said, you don't lose a ton of flavor. And Dixon, man, has been a blast. And
Yeah.
yeah, man, cheers to a
Yeah.
fun
No,
night.
Cheers.
cheers to you all.
Absolutely.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Cheers to many more, hopefully.
We'll do it again.
Absolutely.